Hi, Ruby.
Hi, Renee. How are you?
Okay. It's a grey sort of autumnal day.
Well, we're going to have to brighten it up. It's very sunny and bright here today, so I'm very blessed. I have to tell you, I went to the grocery store yesterday and it was unreal. It was, how they're trying to make everyone do the self-serve. And so they had 4 registers of check out yourself. And then there was one cashier that was ringing. And so when I went up there and it was 3 people in line for the register. So I went over to the self checkout. I normally go to the register because I like the interaction between people. So anyway, I'm at the self checkout and I start ringing up my stuff. And all of a sudden it was like a bell rang and all these people came running up wanting to check out at the same time. It's like this alarm went off. And so all the checkouts, self checkouts are filled and there's lines and there's a line behind the one cashier. Now there's one lady taking care of all the self checkouts. So I have an issue because my item didn't ring up right. And some other guy needs help because he's handicapped and he's having trouble unloading his groceries at the self checkout. And so she's being pulled between the 2 of us. And then I said to her, well, what about my price? So I can check out. I'm done. All I need you to do is delete this. And she goes, I don't have time to go back and check the price. And so right away, I'm like, well, what the heck? You work here, is what I'm thinking. And then the lady behind me, she's got a bunch of vegetables and she doesn't know how to ring them up on self-checkout. So she's yelling at the lady to help her. And then there's a guy over on the other register that's got some issue, which I didn't hear. So right away, we're all getting indignant and we're all like, what the heck? We just want to get out of here and get on with our lives, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm being pulled into all that negativity. It's like feeding. We're all feeding off of each other, the negative. And then all of a sudden I caught myself. And I said, what am I doing? This isn't me. This isn't this woman's fault. She's in the mix of this and she's being pulled in every direction. Like that Stretch Armstrong is the vision I got where, you just, and so I just stopped and I said to everybody in the self, well, first of all, before I go into that, I said to her, why can't you help me? And she goes, I don't have time to go back and look at the price. I said, so immediately, indignantly, I said, I want a manager. And she stepped back and she looked and she goes, well, the manager's on a register. And so all of a sudden it hit me. That's when it really hit me. And I said, stop, wait a minute, what am I doing? And so I looked at all the people in the self-help and I said, because they're all standing there looking at her like they're going to eat her for dinner or something. So it's true. So I said, hey, everyone, let's take a moment. Why are we doing this? This woman has no control over this any more than we do. It's not her fault that they don't have enough people to help all of us. And I said, so let's have a little patience. And they all just kind of looked at me like, who are you? But they listened. And then I turned and she was right standing next to me. So then I put my arm around her and I gave her a few pats like you would a little child. And I said, I'm really sorry you're going through this. I said, it's not your fault. You can't help it. And don't take it personal. And really, I feel really bad for you. And with that, she turned and looked at me and said, thank you.
She'd probably not experienced that for a long time.
Yes, I'm sure not. And that was more me than the other getting caught up in the collective negative energy mob mentality of me, I'm so important, I want help right now, yada, yada, yada. So it was really something else. But I was glad I caught myself. Because
So
years,
did you feel better for it? I mean,
oh yeah.
inside?
Well, years ago, I would have fed right into it and I would have been just the raging, you know what, and left there mad as heck. And it probably would have ruined my whole day. But I know better. So I did better. And that's all you can do. When you know better, do better. And if you don't know, you can't do better. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I find I lack patience. So when I'm walking somewhere, I'm going somewhere and there's people in front of me, I'm always like, oh, I just wish they'd get out of the way. And I want to sort of take over them, go around on the road. And then I think, oh, bless them, because they're just going somewhere the same as me. They're just not going as fast as I am. And I suddenly, as I'm going round them, I think, oh, bless these people, bless their day, bless their family, bless them. And then I start to expand that out to everyone around me in my town, in my county, in the UK. And before I know it, it's the whole world. I'm thinking, we're all the same. We just have different, we just go in to do different things, but we're all the same inside, and we all need support and to be blessed, and for other people to understand and to have a bit of patience with us.
Well, we're all connected and
Yeah.
we don't know what's going on in someone else's life.
No.
And for all we know, they could have suffered a death. They could have been fired from a job. We just don't know. And all these things affect how a person acts or reacts.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take much to trigger anyone, does it? I mean, when you see people getting annoyed, for instance, if they're driving and someone cuts in, or for me, it's when you're on a phone call and you've been waiting a long time, and then when you finally get to speak to someone, they can't help you. I mean, this is modern day life is not straightforward.
No. And it's everything yesterday as well.
Mm.
No one has, well, my famous saying right now recently has turned into, because I get so many times where people that I'm interacting with at the store will say, can you give me just a minute? Can you please give me a minute? And it's like, take your time. A minute in my life isn't going to change anything. And why everyone else is acting like that minute is going to mess up their whole life is beyond me. Have you noticed that? Everyone acts like 1 or 2 minutes is going to make a whole big difference in their life, when in reality, it's not.
Well, as I was driving home last night, I saw a car and it was sort of zipping between lanes, and it nearly crashed several times. And by the time I got to the roundabout, he'd only saved seconds. He hadn't saved even a minute. And
I think we've all experienced that, where we see that car doing that. And then when we get to the stoplight, they're right there. They aren't any further than we were. So it's like, what was all of that for?
I think that's one of the issues, is that you can expend energy pursuing in your mind what your goal is, and then you're not going to get there any faster. You're just going to use a lot more energy and create a lot more chaos behind you.
Right. And speaking of that, let's go back to the grocery store. I started feeding into all that negative energy. And then when I took a step back and a breath and realized what was going on and expressed it to everyone else, then everyone else started reflecting my energy.
Mm.
It switched the whole energy from being to being, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So you raised that vibration in the supermarket.
Yeah. And it wasn't hard at all. And it didn't take any training or schooling. It was just being kind, compassionate, and aware of another human being.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. And it's a way better way to live. And then that affects your whole day and it expands, like you were saying, out into all areas,
Yeah.
not just the grocery store. It doesn't just stay there. When I leave, it expands out. And when each one of those people leave, that's going to expand out into their lives as well. Way better expansion than the negativity. We've got plenty of that. We don't need any help with that these days. Right?
Yeah.
We
I
need
agree.
more positivity and love and kindness and compassion for one another. We're all in this together. And if we
Yeah.
start fighting each other, it's not helping anything. It's hurting us.
I do think though, it does start with the self, doesn't it? You have to be compassionate and kind to yourself and love yourself, not everybody else, because then you're not prioritizing your own needs.
Right. Definitely. It all starts with you. And if you can't love yourself or be kind or compassionate to yourself, you won't be able to do it with other people. That's what I've experienced anyway.
Mm.
And hey, I used to be one of those people. Years ago, I would have been just as mad and angry, and I would have fed that fire of negativity, and I would have left that store. And then my whole day and everything around me would have just kept collecting that. It would have been like that snowball
Mm.
and rolling down into negativity. And instead, it turned out to be the kind, compassionate love and niceness rolling down the snowball into everything, which is
I
very,
think it is. I think that's what we should take away today, is that we should try and find ways to be more compassionate with ourselves.
and then that will lead into being that way with others.
Yeah. So when those thoughts come up where I'm not, it's almost like I've got conditions on how I look or what I'm thinking about myself, I'm going to stop and say, no, that's not true. And I'm going to be nice to myself. I'm going to give myself a compliment, or
Give yourself
just
some
something
love.
that, yeah, it just makes me feel warm inside.
Exactly. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun. Instead of beating ourselves up and saying, why didn't I? And I should have. And why couldn't I have? You know, how many times
Yeah.
do we do that? Or I should have done it this way, or I could have done it that way.
Yeah. All that's going out the window. For at
Yeah.
least I'll try every day this week to be like that, to be a little more self-forgiving.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything, practice. The more we practice, the more we'll
Mm.
get it. And then eventually it won't even be a practice. It just becomes a way of life or a way of
Yeah.
being, is a better way to put it. You'll turn into that. That will be like your reaction. It'll be that, regardless of what's going on around you.
Yeah.
You'll be the calm in the center of the storm.
Yeah. I love that. So I think that we should leave it there for this time.
Okay. And we'll be back. I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
And
you.
thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Love to,
Ruby.
love to all. Thanks, Renee. And have
Bye.
a wonderful day. And remember, be kind, compassionate, and loving to others.